Hi, my name is Jacqueline Ricks, and I'm the librarian here at Goodman Elementary. So we're going to be talking today about how to build up our Spanish collection here at Goodman. Just a quick overview of what we'll be going through. I'm going to go through the current state of the library, both the English and Spanish, so you can see a comparison. We'll be focusing, like I said, on the Spanish nonfiction section today. I'm going to break it down by section, give you an idea of what we need to fix things, a timeline, the total cost, and then some of the resources that I use to compile this presentation. So just so you know, the libraryjournal.com states that Spanish is the top non-English language spoken at home in the United States. That's according to a recent 2011 Census Bureau report. And everybody here knows at Goodman, we are a bilingual campus. We currently have 10 bilingual classes going from kinder up to 5th grade. There are nearly 200 students across all of those grade levels. That's 30% of our student population. We have bilingual teachers that serve these classes. We have a lot of bilingual students. And according to the ALA, with such high concentrations of these ELL students in our schools, and especially considering the fact that here at Goodman, we do not use AR, we do free choice reading. School library media specialists like myself, we're in a unique position to make contributions, significant contributions to the student population. We need to have the resources that these students need and that they want, because that is going to greatly impact their success in the ELL program. So what you're looking at right now is a current state of the library. This is the English nonfiction section. So our total number of books in this section is 2,370. And you can look and see our largest amount, or our largest category, is the 500s, which is your natural sciences and math. That's got all of your animals, your weather books, plants, biomes. Those are big, high interest books for students. And so we have a lot of books already in the 500 section. The rest of our sections are pretty equally dispersed, except for our 001 generalities, the hundreds, which is the philosophy and psychology, and then our 200s in religion. Those need some work in the English section, but I want you to keep in mind the total number of books. This is English nonfiction, 2,370. Now what you're looking at now is our Spanish nonfiction. The total number of books in Spanish nonfiction is 542. We serve nearly 200 Spanish bilingual students, 30% of our population, and these are the amount of nonfiction books that these students have to choose from. Again, you'll see about the same dispersion of our books. 500 again is the largest section because, again, high interest books, animals, weather. We have quite a few books in the 600, which is your technology and applied sciences. We desperately need books in the generalities, in your philosophy and psychology, and your religion. Again, it mirrors like what we had in the English section. But look at the total number of books, 542. That is not good enough for our campus. So what I've done is I've taken a picture for those of you who have never entered our library, or maybe just didn't even know where our Spanish nonfiction section is. You're looking at it. So I want to see if I can draw your attention right back here where my mouse is pointing. That's actually our English section. Everything behind this case in the front is your English nonfiction. Do you see how those English nonfiction books are going from one end of the shelf to the other? They are jam-packed. Jam-packed. We have a ton of English nonfiction. But then look at this front case, because this is all that there is for Spanish nonfiction. Some of them do go from shelf to or side to side. But then look right here. Look at these big holes. We need more. This is not enough for 30% of our student population. So I'm going to break it down really quickly and go through each category. This is done by Dewey Decimal System. So our first category is your generalities. Like I said, this is your coding. This is your computer science. This is ghost stories, encyclopedias. We do have a few ghost story books, which again, those are high interest, but we're a blended learning campus. So we have technology expectations for these children, and yet we only have one Spanish book on computer science and absolutely none on coding. That's insane for a campus that is blended learning. Next is our hundreds, our philosophy and psychology. Oh, actually, you know what? I put ghost stories in the last one. I meant to put them in this one. So ghost stories fall under the 100s. And like I said, high request. We've only got 4. And so most students tend to go over to the English nonfiction section to pick those out. The other books that we have in this section are over ethics, treating people around us, social skills, which is great, but it's not enough. And you can see how we're lacking, completely lacking in some of these categories. Next is our 200s under religion. The only Spanish religion books that we offer right now cover Christianity, and that's it. And we've got so many students in our school just outside of the ELL program who do not fall under Christianity. They have come from other countries like Africa and China and all these other countries, and they don't follow Christianity. Well, our ELL students need to learn about other religions outside of Christianity. They can't do that if we're not offering the books they need. Next is our 300, our social sciences. Most of this section is made up of Spanish versions of popular folk tales, fairy tales. You've got 3 Little Pigs, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. There's all kinds of fairy tales. We do have a set of military books and a couple of books on transportation, but I will say the military books are high interest for the boys, for our ELL boys. They are falling apart. They need to be replaced. But then you can look at all the rest of the things that are just not represented in the 300s. Next is our 400s. This is a very, very, very small section. This covers language. It is nearly 100% Spanish dictionaries, which is fine, but they are highly out of date and there are no other languages offered. Next is our 500s, which is natural sciences and math. If you remember, this was the biggest section because it covers weather. You've got animals that fall in this section. Plants, things like that. We need to bulk up this section, not so much with the animals and the weather, but we need to bulk it up with things like astronomy and chemistry and math and physics because those pieces are really missing out of this section. Next is our 600, which is our technology. Again, I know it sounds kind of weird if you're not familiar with Dewey Decimal that some animals fall under 500 and some fall under 600. 600 is typically more your animals like farm animals and pets. And so again, those are a big high interest checkout for bilingual students. But we don't have any books over medical science, manufacturing, or engineering. Just this week, I had one student ask for a Spanish book over the human body. We didn't have one. And I had another boy ask for a Spanish book over home construction, building homes, and we didn't have it. We can't fulfill these interests that the students have if we don't provide the books that they need. Next is our 700, the arts. If you go look in the English 700s, we have a really good selection of different crafts, arts, painting, drawing books. A lot of our graphic novels are shelved and cataloged into the 700s. In the Spanish section, we don't have that. We don't have a single graphic novel in the Spanish 700 section. I have not seen but maybe 10 drawing books, and a lot of them are very beaten up, so they need to be replaced. There are so many things that are missing. There's nothing on music. There's nothing on photography. Sports falls under the 700s. I know if you're not familiar with Dewey Decimal, probably sounds weird, but sports, if you look, sports takes up almost the entire section. Again, it's high interest. So it's good that we have the books there to support the high interest, but the rest of the stuff is lacking and we've got to fix it. Next is our 800, which is our literature. We do have a few books on Spanish poetry. There's a couple of fiction books in there, but we have our own separate Spanish fiction section. There's a couple of humor books, but again, if you compare this to the English side, we have a ton of books on humor and jokes and riddles and satire. We have a ton of books on poetry and different speeches and essays and drama books, and we just don't have that in the Spanish section. I'm not saying that we need to offer the exact same amount, but it needs to be there. And right now, you can see there are pieces missing. For our 900 biographies, we actually have no 900s in the Spanish nonfiction section. 900s is your history, Texas history, world history, American history. It's not there. I have no idea why, because this is my first year in the library. I'm not sure what happened, but it's not there. Our biographies, for some libraries, they categorize their biographies into their 900s. We keep ours separate. So our biographies are kept on a separate shelf. We do have about 11 Spanish language biographies in the collection, but they are rarely checked out because they're hidden, and there's only 11. We have to update those. Most students, if they're wanting to read about somebody, they just go grab the English version. So what do we need? We need to increase the number of texts across all categories as much as possible. I will say it is a lot more difficult finding Spanish books, especially ones that are library bound. It's not as readily available as English versions, so it will be a little bit harder, but it is possible over time. For this year's purchase, I would recommend focusing the bulk of it on the biographies because it's so small, and science, all sciences. We need to purchase 5 iPads this year so that we can use them as a station in the library in conjunction with the computer desktops that we already have in there. This is with the intent that this year we purchase 5, next year we purchase 10, and the following year we purchase 15 to have a complete library set of 30. Our district already offers a subscription to BrainPop, but it's in English. I would like to propose that for our campus, we subscribe to BrainPop Spanish and make it available so the students can access it on the iPads, as well as give them access to Overdrive so they can access Spanish book titles for free on there. When purchasing the books, my recommendation is to purchase as many as a set or a collection as possible. A lot of times, especially like through Scholastic, they will put different books together in a set that are all, say, National Geographic books or Time books, and they'll cover different nonfiction subjects, so they'll cover different categories. We can purchase them as a set to get a cheaper price. Our timeline is, like I said, biographies, science, BrainPop Spanish, and iPads year 1, graphic novels, literature, history, computer science, and renew BrainPop year 2, and 10 iPads on year 2, 15 iPads, and then fill in the remaining holes and renew that BrainPop subscription on year 3. Total cost is going to be $10,489.04. Most of the cost will come from the BrainPop Spanish subscription, but since we are already subscribed with the English one, our students are familiar. I think it would be a worthy investment. And here are our resources from where I pulled pricing for the various books, the apps, and subscriptions, as well as the Apple iPads, as well as I have our articles that I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation so that you can go back and read and really get a better feel for why our library collection needs to be bulked up and improved to serve our ELLs. Thank you for having me today, and if you have any questions, please see me after the presentation.